wish I could have something that I could like put up here so that it raises you, but I don't. I'm also gonna have to keep air circulating. It's a very hot and humid day here in Indiana. Well, hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Shalise if you are new, and on this channel I talk about a little bit of everything and anything. So it is the Sodbuster life. This video is going to start a new series. I think I want to do it as a new series and just kind of document from beginning to end insofar as possible. I do so much day-to-day life that I don't always remember to pick up a camera and film it. Imagine that. But I'm hoping I get it. I'm gonna have to. Ooh, we have to get a draft going. Ooh, come on. Nope, we're not gonna get a draft going. This is not gonna work. I already know I'm gonna get so hot. Okay, let's figure this out. I'm thinking I want to do this as a new series because of documenting from the beginning to end rather than putting it with the small income living. And I just filmed a video where I pretty much just kind of had a heart-to-heart, hoping it was beneficial in the sense that it was just kind of the realization that it's a little bit like the game Chutes and Ladders. When you have gotten to a point and then you have to start again, it's very discouraging. And yes, we pick up our bootstraps and we continue on, but there is an essence of we're starting from scratch again, kind of like, you know, a little kid when it is climbing up all the ladders and then it hits a snake and goes down the chute. So there's different aspects of the financial life that are similar to that. It's okay to be disappointed. But I'll use the Chutes and Ladder game as an illustration of I'm scrapping that video. It was so much all over the place. Even trying to edit and piece, it's just all over the place. It was a very much heart-to-heart, more me journaling than anything else, which is another reason why I'm scrapping it. But, and I'm going to fiddle with my hair a lot because I don't like hair on my face very well. And it just isn't, it wasn't a very good video, to be honest. The concept, I want to figure out a way to do it, but the video as a whole was not worth it. But a point in that video that I'm actually going to use this illustration of because I thought of a better one. You know, when you play Chutes and Ladders or Snakes and Ladders or whatever it's called, we all start at the same place, and inevitably somebody will end up last. Some people play the game as to whoever gets there first is the winner and then the game is done. But in that game, somebody inevitably has to be last. But here's how I play the game with my kids. And it's not a lesson that I sit down and teach them with. It's more of a thinking lesson that I'm giving them. When we play Chutes and Ladders, we play till the last one gets to the end. And the point is for that person to finish. And yes, it's usually me because I don't have good luck with that game. And why it mostly works. But we play for the last person to finish the game. They finish last. They're not the winner in the purpose of the game, which is to be the first one to reach 100. But they are seeing that we can all start at the same place, and it all takes us however much time it does to get to that last point. And it can be, you know, it can be the last one. Again, it's usually me. It's kind of even funny to see how many times she ends up falling down the chute or falling down the snake or whatever, you know, because they'll be laughing. It's like, Mom, like, we finished 10 minutes ago. You're still trying to, I'm like, I will do this, and it's only me playing me. But inevitably, I always end up down. And life can be like that. Life can be like where you all start at the same point, beginning a house, $0 in the bank, whatever it is, and through a series of circumstances you can end up getting the chute or you can end up getting the ladder. It all just depends on life circumstances. And the difference between Chutes and Ladders and the Game of Life, not the game of life, but the Game of Life, is that knowing that the snakes or chutes are coming, you can prepare for them in as much as your like emergency savings will be and all of that. So in this game, we almost got like to that end bit, and then we hit that big snake that takes you all down. And that's kind of what it felt like. And now it's time to, dust yourself off, pick up, and move on. And yes, I stayed down for a little bit. So that was another part of that video. It was very discouraging. And I just kind of mellowed for a while. Not really doing anything productive. Just mellowed and took it all in. And now, when you pick up your bootstraps and kind of move forward, it's not that you're going to see this big drastic change in us, in the sense that now we're living bare minimum bones of, just enough plates for us. Maybe we're all sitting on the floor eating because we've sold all the furniture and blah, 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 blah. It's not going to look like that. I know Dave Ramsey says sell everything but the kitchen sink to get out of debt. We're not in debt. And I'm working so that we will not end up in debt. But it's not going to be a drastic, a week later, there's nothing left in the house and we have money in our pocket that I now have to turn around and repurchase everything. The only way I would ever do that is trying to become more minimal. But what I am trying to do is I am trying to take anything that I can find and sell it. So a bottle of perfume that my sister gave me, I was like, you know what? I have 2 bottles of perfume. I don't need this. I'll sell it and make a few bucks. And I did. I have a collection of books. Books are my one weakness. And so I'm taking those books and just whittling them away and selling what I can, keeping what are my absolute favorites that I will definitely want to read again, and working on it that way. There's a lot of little things like that. Like right now, my kitchen cupboard where I keep a lot of my glass containers that we store, the extra food in or whatever. Usually I have a little bit in there, even if the fridge is full. Well, the fridge is full with a little bit containers, and my cupboard is pretty empty. So obviously we're starting to see little bits everywhere, but not a drastic change. And then how that looks like in terms of financial things, on my Facebook page, I gave you guys this printable for the August month, and it is basically the $500 challenge. You could look at it multiple different ways. For example, I numbered it 31 down to 1 with two 4s in here, because when you calculate 31 all the way down to 1, you got $496. We need another $4 thing. So there is 2 $4 ones in there. It's not a mistake. But I did this, and some people would have the financial means to finish this in a month. 1 month, or one day you'd put $31 in an envelope. The next day you put 30, 29, 28, so on and so forth. And it could be from your checking account, just deliberately pulling things out and deliberately setting it aside, or it could be like what I'm doing, finding anything I can possibly have laying around that I can sell, and building up my money that way. And I have been keeping track of what it looks like. And some of those are from the membership Facebook page, so thank you again for that. That was the first step that I did in going towards starting from scratch. I was reflecting on what that looked like many years ago, when we left the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace class, and realizing that we were never going to look like the Dave Ramseys of today, the ones that you get to see a lot of. The reason is we don't make that much. You know, when our realization of let's start at the very bottom bracket, and my husband and I didn't even make that half of that, that was kind of a, okay, we're not going to fit into this. There's still principles we take from it, and there's still principles we apply to our life from the Dave Ramsey, but it's not going to look like that. We will never fully finish all 7 baby steps. There's no money to set aside for retirement. We're not doing college things. If the kids want to do college, they can pay for it themselves. And all of that. It's just never going to look like that. But things like the $500 challenge, let's try to build up our emergency savings and do it that way. Or if you have an emergency savings, what would this $500 look like for you? Is it towards a new appliance that needs to be repaired in the upcoming future, or whatever it is? So it's a very slow and steady type of thing, and this is just how we're using it in my family. For us, the savings that I have right now is pretty much going towards the car whenever we find that, and I will be trying to rebuild it. It also means living very, very frugally for the next couple of years, to do what we can to kind of rebuild to the point of where we are. That's very confusing, and I apologize. I could even tell that. So that was my first step, is to basically create this and then try to basically create my ladders. And there's no chutes in here, because if I don't make it, I don't make it, and that's a chute in and of itself. Kind of interesting to think about that for a minute. Anyway, so second of all is you might see things kind of slowly disappearing as we try to build up this little fund. But things like we still go to the grocery store, whereas in terms of a pantry challenge, I was kind of doing that up until the time that we left. And so there still is some pantry items in there, and there's all the stuff that we've canned. But in terms of meat and whatnot, I really don't have a whole lot of meat to work with in the sense of a pantry challenge. I had a very loving gift sent to me, and again, here's completely honest and I'm not going to even try to say that word. I can never say it right. Here's being completely honest and raw with you all. Somebody sent me a $300 Walmart gift certificate to groceries, and so yes, I am ahead of some people starting from scratch in that sense, and I appreciate it, and I am very grateful, and I understand that that gives me leverage, but I also know that it is very helpful. So I've been just using that to kind of do a lot of fill-ins. So I've spent maybe like $75 of that just getting like some canned things that we needed, some milk that we needed, again, not being home, just a little bit of things. My son needed a new pair of underwear, and holy moly, what is the whole thing with underwear these days? Why is it $20 for 5 pairs of underwear? Okay, it's not that bad, but it's almost that bad. So things like that. And that's definitely helping us kind of get ahead a little bit. I could totally pull it from savings, but that means that much less that we're going to have for the car. And right now, looking at car prices and what we have in savings, it's going to be fun trying to find one that we can afford. Okay, so, and yes, that was another one. Yes, I know I am very blessed in the point of we have a savings to be able to do this and not have a car payment. But again, this is kind of going up to a point, and now we're starting back from the beginning, so I'm not focusing on that right now. I'm focusing on helping those get to that point so that when something like this comes, they're prepared as well and they don't have to do the car payments. Hopefully. You know, a little bit counts, a little bit adding up. So, in terms of pantry challenge, if you have the items, then I would definitely do it in whatever way you can. So, we have the $500 pantry challenge, or we have the $500 challenge to try to build up that savings. We're doing what we can with our pantry and what we have in order to make a menu for me, that looks like taking inventory of what I had on hand and kind of thinking about ways to use that for meals. Come on, turn the page. So, like for me, these are all the items that I have canned. So I have 20 jars of salsa. Honestly, we loved the salsa when we were eating it fresh, but once it was canned, we didn't like it as much. So I thought I was going to need a lot more salsa than I did once we figured out that, oh, it cans differently. Anyway, so I can do things like taco chicken. I can put that in taco soup. I can do a lot of that this winter. It's a little too hot for that right now. I have some diced tomatoes that I canned last year. I have tomato soup. I have applesauce. I have barbecue sauce. I have chili base. So if I were to get some like ground beef out, I can make chili with it. I have some enchilada sauce, but I need to make more. That was a good enchilada sauce. I wish I wrote down which recipes I used. I didn't, and that was a big mistake on my part. I have some black bean base. I have some spaghetti sauce. I have some beef stew, and I have pinto beans, and I don't have any black beans. So those are some things that I need to can and put up. In terms of like pantry, what I have in the pantry, I have jambalaya, I have some refried beans, I have some tuna, I have some salmon. I also have more tomato soup that I purchased. I have pho noodles, I have rice noodles, and I have gluten-free noodles, and I have oats. And then I just started my freezer ones, and a lot of the freezer ones are things like broccoli that I put up from all the food pantry, cauliflower that I put up from all the food pantry, lots of green beans in there, so lots of vegetables. So that was kind of my, okay, I didn't necessarily make a meal plan. That's coming. I didn't necessarily make a meal plan with what I had, but I took inventory so I can meal plan around that. Our budget. I did a really, really basic, and it's on my other notebook, a really, really basic budget, and it was trying to cut out anything that was unnecessary, which, to be honest, we kind of have that anyways. And so kind of thinking about, what do I have? So let's kind of, here is a basic budget. Let me go over this and tell you what we've cut out of this budget to keep it simple for that one. Or keep it simple because bare bones budget. We combined 2 phone bills into one, and it's saving us about $60 a month. So that's fantastic. We don't have our compassion kit anymore. It's just not the time for it, unfortunately, so we did have to cut her out. And we don't have anything right now set aside for next year's church convention trip. And obviously we don't have anything set aside for the vacation trip, like when we went to California. We didn't do any of those, so that cut them out. In terms, we did keep piano, and here's why. With something like piano, I'm already working hard with a couple of my kids on being consistent and not giving up when things are difficult. The piano doesn't come naturally to all of my children, and it is a great discipline that we're keeping up on. And I count it as school, and for me, it's really important that they continue it on, especially as my husband has accepted a position as a pastor. We play church. There's a lot of we play church. We play piano for church. His siblings all did. There's different people within the congregation that will play the piano for church. And it's also an investment for me. It's something that they can take, and then, especially like for my daughters, they can turn around and use that skill of playing the piano to help bring in income when they're adults as teaching piano. So to me, piano playing is important. It's an investment. Look at it as my retirement thing. It's my sister will help me with this, but I try not to ask her for it. She's now building her own family, and I know that financially she could do it in a heartbeat if she so chose, but I really try not to. So that's the exception to this whole thing. Clothing. We had a clothing budget beginning, and home upkeep and car maintenance. Those were three things that I was trying to put just a little bit aside every month, and we've cut it out. Obviously, I have already purchased some clothing, so that has to come out of the grocery budget. That $300 that I have for this month. Again, kind of building from ground zero. When we got back from our trip, our checking account basically would cover groceries. Bills. So my husband is working full-time this month to rebuild our checking account insofar as possible. Then what we're going to do, again, it's a little bit more than what we're used to, and I don't have as much work anymore. So with that, he is building up the checking account, and then what we'll do is we will do our bare bones budget next month for what we need for the bills, gas, tithing, and groceries. And whatever is left will then be used to kind of start adding back into the savings account. So this is all just the beginning stages. In terms of what this looks like on a month-to-month basis, we'll have to wait until September budget with me to really look at what that looks like. I have shown several videos of us doing the budget together and actual numbers. And probably number one question that I'm getting right now is, well, what's that going to look like with him being a pastor? And I don't know at this point. He is not going to be... I don't actually know how to do that. I don't know, like, how all of that works. Okay, so if my husband was going to be a doctor, you would not come to me asking about all the patients. You'd go to him. So I'm leaving all of that side of the stuff over there, because that's how it works. In terms of the finances, we're not sure how that works right now. It's fine. For him, it is a ministry calling, not a career calling. So we don't know. I can tell you that up front. I asked him, we don't know. So I'm working with what he is doing right now in terms of job, his current job, and working full time. And then we're going to take that and budget it for September. And September's budget will probably look a little bit different in October, because again, he won't be working full time in September. So all this to say, the next couple of months, since it's kind of all fluctuating, I will probably share a little bit more like written details, so you can kind of see it and use it in a way that will help your family. Don't try to copy what we've got going on here. That's not going to be helpful for you at all. But you can take it and you can work it in a way and see how it would work out for your family. I did a poll 1 or 2 months ago where I took numbers and asked people, like, what do you think is below poverty? And it was interesting to me how only a few people considered, well, based on your family size, this is. Whereas most people went for the bottom number or the next bottom number. taking into account of what you're providing for is a huge part of it. So my numbers and who I'm providing for is going to be a whole lot different than, let's say, you have the same numbers but are providing for twice as many kids. You can't take my numbers and apply it in the same way to your life. But hopefully you can take the idea of, okay, this is what, like, there's no medical expenses on here. There's no Disney Plus memberships on here. There's no, I'm trying to think of different aspects of budgeting. Because you can go, here's what I'm trying to get at. You can go and you can print out a budget on Dave Ramsey's website, on any website out there. You can print out a budget. And they have all of these categories so that you're making sure that you're connecting all of them. But when you go and you do it and you're like, there isn't any money for all of that. But for some people that make more, maybe there is. So you can take the ideas that I have and learn to apply them in your own way. But it's not going to work for you to try to copy this for your own family. What you can take from this video, I hope, is that starting at ground zero means that you need to have some kind of game plan. You need to kind of work on today but think about tomorrow. You take the small steps now in order to reach the ladder later on. One other question that I wanted to address before I close out today's introduction video is, will I be taking on more work now? It was a great question. It's one I've really struggled with, to be honest. Taking on more work means I need a vehicle. I can't get anywhere. This is not the year for me to do more babysitting. I can tell you that right now, whole 100%. I don't have it in me, and I want my kids to have the best part of me on that. But what is that going to look like if I have to work? In terms of going and getting a job, that is not feasible right now. I would end up spending more money getting care for them than I would making anything. Between now us having 2 jobs, the extra income that now we have to pay the double taxes on, and then getting daycare help, and our grocery budget shooting up because I don't have the energy now to do all the meals. It's not worth it. Picking up some odd jobs here and there is worth it because I can do it on my timeline, which works best for my kids, when my husband can be home, all of that, so on and so forth. I have an amazing boss. I'm an independent contractor, how this works, I'm not sure. Manager? I do cleaning I clean apartments in the area, so I keep the laundry area clean, the hallways clean, the staircase clean, basic things. And when people move out, I'm the person that goes in and deep cleans the apartment for the next people. And she's been so understanding with the situation I have because I don't have a reliable transportation right now. She's been very understanding, whereas I was pretty sure she was like, I'm going to have to find somebody else because I need somebody consistent and reliable. And I'm not that right now. But she's been so understanding and so gracious. I'm so thankful. But work like this means I need a vehicle, and I'm not going to have a vehicle probably for another month at least. I do have my sister's car since my sisters are here. My sisters are moving away, but they're not moving till October, so I have about 1 more month with this. But she also has a job. So it's been fun trying to figure it out. My online virtual assistant job, I made $30 last month, and I actually got a little bit more hours last month. So in terms of sustainability, it's just not going to be there. And that's fine. Like that's the way it is. Looking for more work. Yeah. So, kind of bringing this all back to what am I going to be doing? What's my role in all of this? Not really sure, to be honest. I'll do what I can. But right now, it's kind of second on the list. Yes, I want to move forward. I want to do great with the budget. But here's the thing that I really disagree with on Dave Ramsey. One of the things that he does in terms to get out of debt, so I will put that caveat there. In terms to get out of debt and to get ahead is to, he says you don't have a budget problem, you have an income problem. You need to make more. Well, in order to do that, in order to create this live like no one else mindset, you have to put your kids second or last. The job will have to come first in order to make sure that they're first later on. But what will you miss now in order to do that? That's where I really disagree with him. I've heard the stories of, yes, we worked 3 jobs and then my wife did this and that. And again, this is different because, again, in order to get out of debt. So I don't know if I would have the same mindset if I was in that place. But right now, if it's just to make this time easier financially, which could also change like that, I'd have to lose a lot of time and valuable time with my children. So I don't agree with Dave Ramsey on this. Sure, my husband could have a full-time job plus another job once he gets off work. But there's a bigger cost to that. He already has adrenaline fatigue that has been a lot more hard lately, which triggers his depression. And we've had to kind of go back to that because for him, if you have adrenaline fatigue, when you work hard like that consistently, it starts to affect you mentally. Your body basically has this burst of energy and then it's like a runner. You have to maintain that and then you crash. At one point you have to crash. So he can keep going up here, but when he hits the weekend and he isn't working as hard, he goes like, he crashes. And so we don't have the best side of Dad. The anxiety goes up. I can't imagine him doing that with another job. Money is not worth it at that point to me. We're not in debt. Maybe when we live on beans and rice for a while. Actually, that wouldn't be good for his gut either. But anyway, we live very simply for a while so that we have Daddy home and we get the best of him. That to me is worth it more than being so financially secure that I don't have to worry about money, for lack of a better word. And the same thing goes for me too. If I'm working so hard to make financial things so much easier that I don't have to think about it, there's another cost to it. And that cost is that time that I have and can invest in my kids. They'll be gone one day. My youngest turned 7 this year. I may have 12 more years with him living under my roof. Maybe. Again, we don't kick our kids out the day they turn 18. It's, you contribute to the family, you're welcome to stay here as long as you can, and then you don't have to pay ridiculous prices out there. So I'm not going to be kicking my kids out, but they could move on with their lives. 12 more years with my kids. My daughter is turning 16 in less than 2 months. Those years went by so fast. No, I don't want to put every spare moment that I have into making money and miss out those time with my kids. It's not worth it. So that will also be another thing that maybe is different for you than me. But this is where I'm coming from, and this is where I'm starting. And this is the journey that I'm sharing with you. So, here's where we're going with the introduction into beginning. The next video I have planned is to basically create a flowing menu so that you're not constantly coming up with new things to eat. It's something that you can have basic ingredients for and you can purchase all the time. And in this case, you can use an extra $5 or $10 a week to build up or build a pantry that you're prepared for when times like this hit. So please stay tuned for that video. If these kinds of things are helpful to you, give me a thumbs up. That helps me a lot. And I'll see you next time.